Today we're going to talk about the PlayStation Portable. This was Sony's successful little handheld, and it was around over 10 years and sold over 80 million units worldwide. It was successful, and you're going to have your favorite games on this handheld, whether it's Star Wars, a Final Fantasy game, God of War, Grand Theft Auto, Monster Hunter, you name it. There was countless successful games on this great little device. And in today, we're not talking about any of those good games. We're talking about the worst of the worst. And we're going to talk about some bad games that were released on the PSP, focusing on licensed games today. Oh boy! So I want to talk about these bad games, share some gameplay footage, and give you a reason why they're on my list of the worst 5. So sit back, relax. You may want to grab some popcorn. Let's take a look. To share gameplay footage today, I'm using a PSP 3000 Hannah Montana edition using component video cables made for the PSP and running it through a RetroTink 5X. Here we go. Typically with every successful franchise comes the eventual movie tie-in, and that's what you see here with Dragonball Evolution. This is the game that ties into the terrible live-action movie. But looking at the back of the box, it kind of looked like a Tekken-style fighting game, so I figured, why not? After hearing the movie was terrible, I did avoid it and jumped right into this game. It's got your standard modes, arcade and story, but the story is told in these stills. They look terrible. There is a decent amount of loading time, and when it comes down to the actual fighting game, it's a simple button masher. You can just repeatedly hit the action buttons over and over and over again and simply win each time. I didn't find a lot of strategy whatsoever. There's different moves, and it kind of loosely reminds me of a Tekken game, but it plays a lot worse. Comparing it to Tekken is a disgrace to that franchise. This is an abomination and a total disappointment to all Dragon Ball fans out there. It's an awesome series, and this doesn't do it justice whatsoever. There's only 11 characters in the game total. I found it to be very boring and easy to play through story mode. Only the most die-hard Dragon Ball fans are even going to want to try to play this game. The rest of you avoid it. There's several other fighting games that are way better on the PlayStation Portable. My pick for the worst fighting game on the PSP. Napoleon Dynamite is a cult classic, and it's a very funny movie. I remember watching it and thinking this was just an odd movie that was hilarious, had some great scenes in it. And I saw that there was a PlayStation Portable game offering 30 mini games that was a direct tie-in to the movie. I don't know what I was expecting, maybe something like a WarioWare mini game, and instead we get this. I thought the graphics were interesting. I don't know if I hated them. As long as it was funny, I didn't mind. But, you know, first game that you're introduced to is this dance game, and it's a simple button press. It's very challenging, actually. Took me a couple tries to kind of figure it out and to get the rhythm down and accuracy, but it's fairly challenging, and it's more cumbersome than it needs to be, especially for your first game. I didn't like this game whatsoever, and I thought, okay, that game's bad. I'll try a couple other games. Feed Tina is boring and monotonous. You're just essentially trying to throw food into the animal's mouth. Yay, not fun whatsoever. Football Toss is simply just a button press and arcing the football just right. Kind of reminds me of a track and field mini game, but it just doesn't capture the essence that made the movie funny. These mini games aren't fun. They're not fun to play. You're going to be bored out of your mind. Even computer hacking. These are just half-baked ideas all thrown together. Just a dull mess of a game. Avoid this mini game collection. Next up, we got Peter Jackson's King Kong, and this is kind of a downsized version of the console releases. It was on 360, PlayStation 2, just to name a few. There even was a DS one. That's a whole other story. And it's just a dark, blurry mess. Now, first-person shooters on PlayStation Portable can be done. There was several others. This one just does not work. It's got some wonky controls. Is it the worst game ever? No, but it's definitely a downgrade, and avoid this. It's got a lot of technical issues. It's got a lot of graphic glitches. You can see the seams in the actual picture. Oh, it's just really bad. It's really rough. And for a PlayStation Portable game, one of the worst license tie-ins, as I just don't think it captures just an average game in itself. And so taking an average game and playing one of the worst versions of it, it is pretty bad. And so the big thing with this is the dark graphics. It's hard to tell what's going on. I didn't adjust the settings at all. This is how dark it looks on the screen, and this is capturing it on a large screen. I still have a hard time knowing what's going on when enemies are coming near me, and so this is pretty bad. Avoid this. There was a movie based on the classic novel The Golden Compass, and there was a PSP game tie-in, and I've heard a lot about this game. I have not watched the movie, and I haven't read the book, so I kind of went into this blind, seeing and just judging it just on how good of a game it is. The Golden Compass is a great example of just a cheap license cash-in. There's no thought or creativity in this game. It takes kind of a mediocre movie and boils it down to just meaningless tasks. It does a really bad job of kind of telling the story or what's going on. The controls at times are cumbersome. The camera is awful. And it's just stupid action sequences just tied together. There's so much in this game I really dislike. And I think overall, after reading kind of the premise of the story, it did a really bad job. You're simply pressing buttons to jump over ledges. Lame. And it gets worse as you progress in the game. You simply press buttons to overcome certain obstacles. I hate that in games. And it really just kind of dumbs it down. Now, this might be an okay game for maybe a young gamer, but because the control is really bad, I would say play something else. You have these sequences here where it's simply just pressing a button. I know that was popular at the time this came out, but it's so boring when it comes down to gameplay, and it's just a monotonous mess, okay? But that's not the worst part of this game. It's these kind of bouncing parts of the game where you have to get across a ledge and you have to carefully balance your character as you move forward. This is when I wanted to put the PSP down and never play this game again. It was completely broken in parts, and I had a really hard time progressing past this. This is when playtesting is very important, and honest feedback in a group or development team so that things like this can be avoided. There were numerous games and movies based on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles franchise, and so seeing the movie back in 2007, I really enjoyed it. So when I saw there was a PlayStation Portable game based on the movie, I was pretty excited. As I enjoyed many of the games that they made, this game should be renamed Jumping from Ledge to Ledge, the game with some average fighting. I hate this game. This is a terrible example of what not to do, especially with an awesome Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles license. The fighting essentially is one button. Later on, you do get an additional button added to fighting. But this is truly a terrible Turtles game. One of the worst for modern Turtles games in general. And, you know, there's other versions of this that are truly better. But the PlayStation Portable one is absolutely god-awful. And essentially you're pressing buttons, a various series of buttons to jump from ledge to ledge or to progress. The timing can be somewhat rather difficult. It took a little bit for me to get used to it, but after a while I didn't want to play it. It was just completely boring. Terrible control scheme. Some of the worst action sequences I've played, especially in a Turtles game over the years. There are a few other games that could have made this list, and there are a pair of Transformers games that I don't have in my collection that probably could have made the worst 5 as well. But these are the 5s that I shared because I had them in my collection. And as always, thank you so much for the ongoing support. I'm having a lot of fun doing these series, and I'm going to be continuing to cover other handhelds and consoles and possibly some classic computers in the future. So what do you think? What are your worst picks for the PlayStation Portable? And these are mine. It's okay if we differ, just keep it positive and comment below what you think I should have included. And as always, thank you for watching. If you're new to the channel and you like what you see, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button and click the bell as I'm uploading videos every week. You folks are wonderful and beautiful. Thank you so much for watching. This is the Immortal John Hancock, and you have a good day.